first of all, just as you come into the schools, what is it that you're looking for?
Well, when I come into schools these past few days, I'm looking for signs that kids are beginning to stabilize, that the environment is beginning to stabilize some. I'm looking to see if the kids are beginning to engage in their learning, get back to academics in some sort of form. I'm looking at the substitute teachers we've hired and ensuring that they're making attempts to engage with the kids and help them get back to what they're accustomed to. Those are some of the things I'm looking for when I walk in classrooms.
I'm hearing the Wednesday sirens. Talk to me about, what are you seeing from kids? You were principal here. You're a principal, so you're used to reading children. My principal and teacher friends, I see them, they know how to read a child.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing from them, through the strike? And I think it might be age related as well, but tell me what you're seeing.
I'm seeing kids who are emotional. They recognize that this situation is unique, it's different. I see kids who are confused. They are trying to take the direction from the substitute teachers in the classroom. All the while, they can visibly see their teachers outside on the picket line. And that has been a struggle for some of our kids emotionally. I see kids who are trying to just be real troopers. They recognize that this is a unique and complex situation, and I see kids really trying to focus and support one another and just rally one another.
Kids are resilient, but they take their cues from adults too. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, they are. They're resilient, but they take their cues from adults. That's why it's important that we have as many adults that they know in buildings, and that has helped. Our support staff has really been fantastic throughout the past few days, really going the extra mile to help kids stabilize and get back into a routine. Our drivers have been exceptional. That's the first face that kids see in the morning. So it's been wonderful to have those folks driving and continuing their routes, because kids are familiar with those folks, and it makes for a good start to a day.
Well, you are tasked at leading this district right now. The school board is your boss,
sure.
And they are working with the union to hammer out a contract. You don't have an if you have to do the best you can with the situation. Is that the way you feel? I mean, you haven't necessarily had a choice in this. Talk about that.
Well, I take my direction from the Board of Education, a 5-member board, and I'm charged with operating this district. And I'm charged with operating this district when we have permanent teachers in the classroom, and I'm charged with operating this district and running this district when we have temporary substitutes in the buildings, as we do now. So my job remains the same. I need to make sure that we can open our school doors and buildings to our children. Our kids deserve that, and our community expects us to do that.
Speaking of that, on Friday and even Monday, the numbers of substitutes haven't really been to where I think you wanted them. Tricia had told us that some of the substitutes even called off that you didn't anticipate. Are you second guessing that decision to go ahead and open with 200 subs versus 300, 350?
Well, Lu Ann, there was no real way of us knowing until the actual day in the morning how many folks would show. We have had over 400 substitutes processed to prepare for this strike, but somebody spoke and said this to me earlier today. It's pretty clear that there hasn't been a teacher strike in Central Ohio in 15 years. Things are different. They don't look like they did necessarily in Strongsville, where there was the last teacher strike. So folks are not as willing to cross the picket line. Folks commit, and then they see what's, the activity and understand and process some of the ramifications, unfortunately. And some folks just haven't been willing to risk that.
So you still think that despite the lower numbers and the subs, that it's still important to open the doors? Talk about that.
Well, I felt like we've been able to create some stability. We've been able to create some routine for kids. We've been able to put some resources in to help kids emotionally and help them deal with that. We've been able to connect kids with familiar faces. We've been able to leverage technology and use that in a way to get kids refocused on academics. And so I felt like with the resources we have, we need to open schools and allow kids to come in and access school buildings. We've received a lot of calls from parents about absences. And we recognize, again, Reynoldsburg hasn't been in a strike for 25 years. Whereas we have to uphold the law, we certainly know, and we should say that we are going to provide amnesty for some families, and this is difficult. And we want kids to come back to school when they're ready, and not all kids are ready today.
Let's clarify that a little bit. I think I know where you're going with it. I'm sure that, so many parents have said, we've seen the numbers, 50%, 56% attendance.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly there are some people who are holding their children at home for a variety of reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's child is different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a bad idea for parents to keep their kids at home?
I think parents need to do what they think is good for their kids. That has been our mission at Reynoldsburg for over 25 years, and it's not going to change today because we're on a teacher strike. Kids are different. We all understand and recognize that, and some kids are more able to adjust to change than others, and we need to respect that, and we certainly are respecting that.
So potentially then, I know you can have no more than 10 unexcused absences.
Mm-hmm.
So potentially if this goes beyond that 10, what would you recommend to the board to do for those families?
Well, when this is over, we're going to be able to, sit down and process and take a look at our numbers and where kids missed and which buildings and for what reasons, and we'll make decisions about kids and families then. What's important to say right now is we want families to do what they're comfortable with, and we will work through the details at a later date. We're not looking to punish kids. We're looking to make kids comfortable and to reassure kids and families. And if folks are ready to come back today or tomorrow, that's fantastic. If it's going to take a few days, we recognize and respect that, and we will work with that at a later date.
Are you comfortable with the quality of subs that you're getting, and talk about what you've seen, and some have actually been let go? Talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've gotten a wide variety of subs, no different from a typical summer replacing teachers at turnover. We've received some real high quality subs, excellent subs that are former teachers. Some are teachers who just can't find jobs right now and who got right in there and able to work with kids and do a really good job. We've had a sub or two we've had to let go because they, for one reason or another, did not meet our expectations, and we didn't hesitate on that as we would any of our employees. We have a standard, and that standard's an expectation. It's not going to change just because we're in a teacher strike.
Are you confident that all of these teachers have had criminal background checks before they get in the classroom?
All of the subs that we have in buildings, we've worked with this company to ensure that subs have background checks in our district. All of the subs have BCI and federal background checks before they're processed and able to be used in the buildings.
A couple of fights. We've seen fights at Livingston campus on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Police presence again today. Talk to me about what you know about what's happened at Summit. I know that we have a crew there to see their patrol cars there. What can you tell me about that? And is that, I won't say normal operations, is it what we would consider part of sometimes things happen in a school, or is it something that is exacerbated by the emotions of this strike?
I would say, Lu Ann, just because the adults are in a state of we're in flux doesn't mean that kids aren't being kids. our kids are going to be kids. They're having kid issues, and we are dealing with those kid issues as we do on a daily basis when they come up. And we recognize that they're not going to be able to put those things on hold. Now, I think a lot of those behaviors are getting a lot of special attention, unfortunately, during this difficult time. But I think it's unfair to expect kids to be able to shut off their emotions, shut off their disagreements, shut off the way that they, issues they've had with other folks. The fight today at Summit, I understand, was a fight that's been brewing for over a week. And although we don't encourage and condone fighting, we recognize that this strike is not going to make that all go away.